So the exciting thing about the Finger Lakes, again, is how many different expressions of Riesling we can tease out. And the other thing about Riesling is it's so intertwined with the geological history of the region. So the Kashong Glen vineyard was planted on top of about 6 to, at the most in some locations, 24 inches of topsoil. And that topsoil, it sits on a shale bed. The shale was formed during the Devonian era. So the Devonian era was about 300 million years ago. And it was during this period where we are was essentially a shallow ocean floor. And the shale ultimately was deposits from that ocean, layer after layer of sediment, plant life, sea life, for a really long time. The soil got here really because of the glaciers, which scraped off a lot of the, what we would say would be indigenous soils, or the soils caused from the weathering of the rocks in this location, and deposited from all over the place. So we have a remarkable diversity of soil that rests on top of shale. And I think the important thing about that is our quote bedrock layer, our shale layer, is fairly permeable for grape roots, because as the grape roots are pushing through, they find the cracks that are caused from temperature changes, from weathering, from chemical, biological weathering. And they can go deeper and they can find the pockets of water and other nutrients for the vines. So the Kashong Glen vineyard, I don't know if it's because I know where it's planted. No. The fact is it does taste like where it's grown. We see that influence on the palate vintage after vintage of growing on top shallow soil with this shale base below it. And it lends this sense of mineral profile in the wines. So the 2018 is, to me, an extraordinary wine. This is farmed by Jim and Mike Calizzi. They do an amazing job, and I'll tell you that the vineyard is right out in front of Jim's house, and that faces Seneca Lake. It's a little slice of heaven. So on the nose, all of the problems that we saw with 2018, the excessive moisture, the heat, the mildew, the sour rot, the botrytis problems, they are not apparent at all. Not only did Mike do such a good job farming this vineyard, he worked with our team that went in and dropped all of the bad fruit before we harvested. So we are left with a difficult vintage, but what I think is an extraordinary wine. So Wine and Spirits magazine named this one of their best Rieslings in the United States, part of their top 100, and also gave it a best value note. To me, that was important because this isn't one of our cheapest wines. But what it shows is, that professionals in the industry see this wine as so extraordinary that, even at $22, it's a really top value Riesling. So the notes of mineral on the nose that combine with hay and fruit melange like lemon and apple and pear really give way to the palate. It's true from the aromatics right through the flavor profiles of this wine. It's dry. I think we have 8 grams here, but the acid is decent. We're at 3.06 pH and 7.6 grams of titratable acidity. So that sets up a profile for a nice dry wine that pairs great with your fatty cheeses, creamy cheeses, cream sauces, grilled chicken, grilled veggies, and even one of the things I really like to have with this wine is Zweigel's White Hots. So enjoy this. This is a limited release. We have this for Wine Club and in the tasting room and some online sales.